If you have questions, concerns, and are just lost when it comes to planning for retirement, meet Steve Hoyl and Derrick Caldwell of the Hoyl Financial Group. There was a new survey that shows most of Americans don't expect to work beyond their early 60s. They're looking at giving up their full-time paycheck at the age of 62. Yahoo Finance Carrie Hannon says this is a terrible idea.
Unless you absolutely can't continue working because of a physical issue or you can't get a job because of ageism. And that's very real. But, it's a bad idea because in a sense that they have medical bills. If you leave at 62, you still have to foot your medical bills until 65 when Medicare kicks in. And even then, Medicare doesn't cover a lot of things. People are mistaken there. So I think people don't factor in some of these things like inflation and then, of course, longevity. We are living longer lives.
Yes, we are living longer, which means we need our money to last longer and also means eventually we're going to need some health care coverage. So if someone is coming to you saying, look, I really want to retire, but I'm holding off because I don't know if I can afford this health care coverage. What's your thoughts?
Man, honestly, we hear that a lot. A lot of things that retirees, one of the things they lose focus on is that what we call a Medicare gap. Medicare age is 65 to start Medicare. So if you retire when you're 60, guys, you have 5 years without any medical coverage where you have to go out and buy it. So on average, I see that it's about $2,000 a month per person on average. Some people are higher, some people are lower, depending on medical needs and everything. But that means if you're married and you and your spouse both retire at 60, that is $4,000 a month. That's almost $50,000 a year that your portfolio has to absorb for 5 years. $250K right there, right? So that is a big, big deal, especially given the assets that you have, your other income needs, right? Because that's not all you have to pay for, right? When you retire, that's just the one thing. So, that's something we're seeing more and more that people forget. And when we start factoring that in, it's a huge thing. So you have to plan for that. You really have to have the assets to support that. I'm not saying it is a terrible idea. I will say it's a terrible idea for most people and most portfolios because it'll eat away at that bad boy. But there are solutions for that type of coverage and also solutions for funding that, including annuities. They have some additional benefits that you can use and let income roll up to kind of replace that income. But you need time. You need to come in. We got to plan this out. I never recommend somebody do the old, hey, I'm throwing in the towel and retiring and I'll figure it out later. Because believe it or not, in this day and age, we still have those people coming in, right, Steve? And so
Absolutely they do. But, Derrick, having a plan and working that plan. And, I've seen people just retire at 60, at 62. I've seen some people do it at 55, but they were laser focused on their goal. They had a plan for health care. They had a plan for long-term care. They had really thought it out. So I think the earlier you start to plan, the better off you are. It's real simple, Derrick. I was with McKay the other day and Hillary and grandbaby, and the teeter-totter thing? I haven't been on one in years. So she's holding McKay on one side and I'm on the other side. You got to have a lot of strength. You got to be able to keep that way up there and have a lot of money in that bucket to keep that from the other side coming down. So I think it's having a plan and working that plan. But, Derrick, what's exciting is I've seen a lot of our clients do really cool things in their careers in their 60s and really made it the best part of their life. I think that's exciting.
Yeah, that's kind of the fun part sometimes when you work, right? Late 50s and 60s, you're generally you're the big kahuna, right? You've been around, everybody asks you for help and you know everything. And a lot of times that's how people feel at their work, is they really enjoy it for that time period. But for those who want to walk away, now's the time to give us a call and really focus in. Like Steve said, get laser focused on what you want to do in retirement and what your goal is, and allow us the opportunity to sit down with you and make that dream a reality.
Now, here's the deal. When it comes to planning for retirement, we got two things here. The number one fear is running out of money. So we want to alleviate that, right? We want the proper income planning. And along with that income planning, a lot of folks think that there's some crazy magic number out there that if you reach this amount, you're good for retirement and you're good to never run out of money. One of the most common magic numbers that you see out there is $1 million. Well, I recently came across an advice column where this man was in his 70s and he wrote that his goal is to become a millionaire before he leaves this world. He has about $768,000, but really wants to hit that $1 million benchmark. And of course, ask the question, how do I achieve this? My first question is, why are you even after this? You're probably just fine. But do you see a lot of people wanting to take unnecessary risk in retirement like this?
Yeah, I actually had a client and his wife came in the other day. I really had to refocus them. We started talking about risk, and I run through a risk test with them to kind of show risk versus reward and get a feeling of, what kind of risk somebody wants to take. And it came out with a lower number of what their portfolio needs to be built around to attain the interest growth that they're looking for. And so the wife turns to the husband and says, we want more growth in that, so we're going to take on, it looks like we'll have to take more risk. I'm like, it's not that. No, that's a negative way of thinking about it, right? In the sense that your income, what you generate in retirement, and your budget, big B word, right? Everybody hates that thing. Mm-hmm. It is something you have to look at in a responsible way. You can't sit there and go, hey, I want to take out $30,000 a year, so I'm going to go way more risky than I feel comfortable with because I want more income than that. That is not the solution, people. That puts you in a terrible, terrible place in retirement and puts you in an uncomfortable place where you're going to be stressed out every single day of your life because you have to get 15%. Otherwise, you can't live the way you want to live. Maybe it's not the best time to retire for you. Maybe we need to shovel away some more cash and things like that. That's where those conversations come in because you can't have a magic number because the number is far less important than the other ones, such as how much are you going to spend each year? How much do you need? What does your debt look like? What does your expenses look like? Those are the magic numbers, everybody. It's not a dollar amount.
I totally agree with that, Derrick. I think the problem is when you think about all those different things on the wheel that we look at, whether it's an income plan, when to take Social Security, your beneficiaries, doing your estate planning, your will, your trust, your power of attorneys, all of those different things, when you get too heavy on one of them, it doesn't work out. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, you have to focus on the whole picture, and that's where we are full retirement planners here, guys. We're not brokers. We're not just financial advisors. We deal with all the stuff that our industry has for years neglected. We talk about Medicare. We talk about taxes. We talk about income planning. We talk about Roth, all that stuff. Traditionally, your advisor hasn't wanted to touch. And selfishly, I'll say it is the very hard part about our job. And having you come over and bring money to me and grow it, that's nothing, right? I mean, that's day one kind of stuff for us, but how to take it out, because the strategy to grow your funds is going to be completely different than when you're in retirement. Absolutely, everybody, because you're continuing to contribute when you're working, you're putting more money away, there's different strategies in place, and when you're retired, it's totally different. All these other avenues that we're talked about are going to be super important to your retirement, and those are the things you need to focus on.
Derrick or Steve, whomever wants to chime in here, talking about that first-time meeting, let's face it, a lot of folks are preoccupied right now. It's summer, going to the beach, planning vacations. All these things are a lot more fun than sitting down and talking numbers and money with you guys. Let's just be honest. But what's that first-time meeting like? Is it as scary as we think?
Absolutely not. Just these days, what we love to do is have a 15-minute phone call. We want to get to know you. We want to find out what you're looking for. We want to find out how much preparation you've done, if any, so we can kind of make sure when we get together and sit down that we use that time the very best possible. So, kind of answer your questions, make sure you don't have those jittery feelings, making sure you're comfortable, making sure that that your information is going to be safe and that nobody's, we protect that. That's so important. It's the, and I think so important when you think about working with people and their money, it's all about the details, because the details are what are so important, dotting the I's and crossing the T's, and then really figuring out what you want to do in retirement, how much money you've done, and make sure the money you have mirrors what you want to do in retirement. Because what happens is, Jess, if you don't have that plan, people come see us and they say, oh, listen, by the way, we saw an open house and we made an offer and we need to take $400,000 out to pay the difference because, we decided, wait a minute. Don't wreck that retirement plan. If you want to buy a house in retirement, let's talk about it. Let's have a plan. Let's don't take an interest rate from 2.3% and get 7.0 right now.
Right.
It's all about a plan. But just when you have a plan, you can travel the world, you can have a new house, you can have a new car over the year, whatever, but you can't have everything. Correct, Mr. Caldwell?
Yeah, or if you do, you gotta plan for it too. But most of the time in retirement, it's just like anything in life. So it's a little give and take there, and we want to position you where you can enjoy the things you want to be doing in retirement, and let us handle the rest of it.
Jess, the neat thing is getting to experience the Hoyl difference. We have the greatest people in our office, Esme, Tiffany, Cynthia, everybody in our team. They all kind of carry a different load. So if you want to really figure out your retirement, if you want a successful retirement, you need to call today and experience the Hoyl difference. What I can assure you is we can create a plan to make sure you live through retirement, get through retirement, and make it everything you want it to be.
An article asked, when does an annuity make sense? Well, it says while annuities aren't right for everybody, you should consider them if you fall into one of these three categories, or all of them for that matter. Number one, your spending is high relative to the assets that you've saved. Basically, you need more money. Number two, you want income from guaranteed sources. And number three, the idea of guaranteed income, like annuities, Social Security, or even a pension, they give you that added peace of mind. So, Steve and Derrick, doesn't that really describe like 99.9% of the people that you work with?
Yeah, and that's always funny to us, because when we go through these things with clients, sometimes they're detailing these things and they're talking about them to me. Hey, Derrick, this is what I want. And I don't want to have to worry about what's on the TV, what the market's doing, things like that. And I just want a dependable income source. Mm-hmm. I'm like, so really what you're describing is an annuity. And they're like, no, I don't want an annuity.
No, not that thing.
Yeah. And it's like, well, okay, so let's walk through this, that we increase more safety for you. And then let's, take away assets from riskier ventures and giving you that guaranteed income every single month. Yeah, that's the one I want. Okay, so that's an annuity. I just said it a little bit different. And they get very, okay, so maybe I do want an annuity and everything.
Sure.
So annuities aren't for everybody and their lifestyle and everything, but they have came so far since 20, 30 years ago in what they offer people out there in properly diversified and a piece of your portfolio. They're killer. They are fantastic at producing income, everybody. So that is some part of what we look at, is that if it fits your lifestyle and everything, absolutely, right, Steve? You've been around, you've seen all kinds of annuities over the years, right?
Over the past 35 years, I've seen some horrible annuities people have brought into us, but I think we've picked some fantastic annuities. What's funny is people come in and they describe all the attributes of an annuity, but they said, oh, I don't want an annuity. Well, a lot of people have had horrible experience with variable annuities with huge fees. They need to purchase the correct annuity. But I think also right now, Derrick, people are coming to see us because their retirement monies or their cash that's in the market is way out there. And what they say is, wait a minute, I don't want to lose it all. And, we have some incredible annuities that have large caps, 13, 14, 15%. So you participate in the upside of the Standard & Poor's, but not the downside risk. And, our clients are really flocking to those because they want safety. And what's interesting is a lot of people out there remember 2 years ago, and when the S&P was down 19.85%, let's call it 20%. If you were in one of our strategies, as we're talking about, zero would be your hero that year. So when you don't suffer the losses, but you have the large gains as the S&P grows, and not lose everything you've saved, your hard-earned money. So if you want guaranteed money and to know in retirement that your money is going to be there, your income is going to be there, call us today for Annuity X-Ray. And if you have an old annuity out there, you need to call us. We need to review it. We need to really show you. We can help you so often, get you in a much better place. Less fees, more safety, more growth. So with an old annuity, or just want to really figure out if annuity is right for you, let's get started.
If you'd like to sit down with Steve and Derrick or a member of the Hoyl Financial Group, visit retiretexasstyle.com.
Investment advice offered through Hoyl Wealth Management, a Texas-registered investment advisor able to provide investment advice in states where it's registered, exempt, or excluded from registration. Content contained herein should not be construed as an offer or solicitation for investment advice or for the purchase or sale of any security, insurance, or other investment product. Investments involve the risk of loss, including possible loss of principal. Please consult with a qualified financial, tax, accounting, or legal professional before implementing any ideas or strategies discussed here. Content provided is obtained from sources believed to be reliable but cannot be guaranteed as to its accuracy or completeness. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities offered through Steve Hoyl, Texas Insurance License 716036. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties. Steve Hoyl is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Steve Hoyl is licensed in your state, please call 806-371-9473.